conservative,
Christian, mother, wife,
Air Force veteran.
gun rights advocate.
This is Stacy on the Right. Here's your host, Stacy Washington.
Indeed. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Hour 3 is off to a ripping good start with Erika Donalds back on the program. She is guest faculty at the Leadership. It's glad to have you here. You're guest faculty at Leadership Institute School Board Program, CEO of Optima Ed. We're so glad you're here. Talk to us. We have a spike in absenteeism in America's K through 12 schools. I wonder why.
Yeah, obviously, this is stemming from the culture that was created during COVID when parents were told to keep their children home at the rise of any sniffle. And parents also saw that schools weren't doing much anyway, so they kept their children home thinking it's really not worth sending them to school. There's a myriad of other reasons, but we're not talking about what we used to think of as truancy. We're talking about 30% of students across the country who are missing 10% or more of school a year. And we know if they're not in school, they are definitely not learning, which is a death knell to the future of our country. We need an informed and educated citizenry in order to maintain this democratic republic.
Yeah, the the educated citizenry part. Wow, we need to focus there badly. So let's talk about the focus, because what ends up happening is we have stories out of New York City where students were forced into remote learning to give shelter to migrants. Their school was actually converted into a shelter on a temporary basis, but still. And we know that during the pandemic, remote learning actually contributed to learning loss. It wasn't that kids stayed the same. They actually lost learning and were set behind and had to spend copious amounts of time catching up for those who had parents who understood what the assignment was. We're talking again about absenteeism. That also contributes to learning loss and the possibility of students dropping out of school.
Well, absolutely. And it's no surprise. You just mentioned what's going on in New York City, where schools are saying, oh, we don't need to have your children here in person. It's just fine if we teach them from home. And so we are still, years later, after the pandemic is over, sending the message to parents that children do not need to come in person to school. Now, there's nothing wrong with high-quality virtual learning. At Optima Ed, we run a high-quality virtual program, but that's not what this is. This is emergency remote learning. These schools are not set up to teach remotely. And so children are the one, absolutely, who are at the detriment of these practices, and parents are being told, and it's permeating our culture, this absenteeism. We're also seeing it, of course, in the workplace, where employers are reporting very high absentee rates. So it's not surprising that those same parents, those workers, are also keeping their children out of school.
And then there are the stories. I don't know if you saw this, but some of the parents are on Instagram posting videos about how on the first day of remote learning, their children were logging on for class, and the teacher logged on and said, hi, welcome to class, here's your assignment, and then logged off, and that was it for the whole day.
Well, we know that that's nothing new. That's exactly what happened in COVID, right? If that. And so what are we seeing here? That schools and districts are putting the needs of migrants in front of the needs of Native Americans, American citizens and taxpayers whose children deserve a top-notch education. They deserve all of the resources that have been allocated to that school to pay for that teacher, to pay for this time. When it comes to learning loss, the studies have shown that these students actually need 4 extra months of school in order to get caught up. Teachers unions have not allowed in any district across the country for any significant days to be added to the calendar. But then not only that, now we see less days, less time actually spent in the classroom. So our students are never going to catch up from this learning loss as they would need to.
Yeah, the idea that they have an opportunity to catch up is predicated on a number of things. First off, their parents have to be fully engaged and kind of saying, okay, I understand that you need to catch up. That's the first thing. Then the parents have to be motivating the child to want to participate in the catching up. Then the parent and the child have to stand together with a teacher who believes that child can catch up and will assign the work and work together with the parents to make sure that the work is done, that it's understood, that it's not too burdensome, that it's manageable. I mean, it's not undoable. It's definitely something that can be done, but you can't. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's not just going to happen on autopilot. You need a really actively partnered group to help a child catch back up.
Well, sadly, that is not the messaging that parents are getting. And I remember when one of my children went into kindergarten, I got a letter from the school that said, please don't teach your child how to read at home. We're the experts. And if you try to teach them to read at home, you're going to mess up what we do here at school. And that has been the message from public schools for decades now. They're the experts. Parents have no place in their child's education. And parents, unfortunately, have gotten the message, and they've pulled back and said, well, I don't know how to teach my child. I don't know how to support my child. I have to leave it to the experts in the schools. Well, now, just as you said, study after study shows that parent involvement and parent support is the number one indicator of student success. But we don't see schools and districts trying to pull on parents to say, we want to partner with you. Unfortunately, that's still not the case. It's not the culture that we see from the vast majority of public schools and districts. That's something that I'm glad to see the Florida legislature looking at when it comes to this absenteeism, partnering with parents, messaging to parents, we need your help, we need your involvement, we need these students back in school.
And can I just say, I mean, I would almost be of the mindset that I would have to get my child out of a school where the teacher told me I couldn't teach my child to read. I would be so smart alecky about that. I said, well, too late. I already taught my child how to read. So what are we talking about here? Like, what
well,
are we doing?
In fact, that is exactly what happened. That experience with my second child, who I'm just talking about, is what got me into the school choice movement over 10 years ago. I realized that this was not a good fit for my son. It wasn't a good fit for me as a parent because, again, I wanted a partner who welcomed my involvement with my children. And it embarked me on this journey where I ran for school board, won, and started my own series of schools here in Florida and across the country for parents like me who want a high quality option and who want to be more involved in their children's education.
And so let's just, one more thing. Because you did the right thing. It takes a lot of work what you did. It's not easy, but you saw a need and you were like, I'm filling it because I can't have other moms maybe feel like they don't have an option when they're told this same nonsense. It is never okay for anyone, I don't care if they have PhDs coming out of their ear holes, they cannot tell you not to teach your child. So if you're teaching your child how to read at home and they're using a different method at school, instead of seeing your teaching at home as some kind of a stumbling block, they should think to themselves, well, this child will be really versatile because at school, they know that we do things this way. And at home with their parent, they know that they approach things a different way. And when the child says, oh, we do it differently at school, you say, yes, make sure and follow your teacher's instructions on how to do this. But let's learn these, these are our new words for tonight. Let's work on these words. Let's sound these out. Let's do whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's math or reading or science or whatever. Don't stop teaching your child. Children need to know that they can go to their parents when they have questions about education, and they should trust you to teach them. You're their first teacher. It's not about the PhD. It's about you being willing to sit down with your child and answer their questions and make learning fun.
That's absolutely right. And at the Leadership Institute, we are training parents all over the country, and this is what we're hearing from them. They reject the idea that they are not the experts for their children. And thankfully, there is a movement of parents who are rising up, who are taking control of their students' education, who are taking responsibility for the success of their children in school. And we see this impacting politics all the way up to the presidential election. I love to see it at Leadership Institute. We're all over the country helping to train these parents to be more involved, to advocate for themselves and their children and their families, and to make the best educational decisions for their children.
And so those educational decisions, what parents can do if they plug into Leadership Institute is they can learn more. Talk a little bit more about what parents can find as resources with your organization.
Well, we train parents if they want to be involved in their local school board, whether that means running for school board or simply paying attention to what's going on at the school board meetings, how to advocate for different issues, find the information that they need when it comes to looking at their district website, their state website. And so we're training them whether they want to be a candidate, and we definitely need more parents running for school board and serving on local school boards, taking governance control of these districts and having a voice in that structure. But you don't have to run for school board in order to have an influence. You can go to meetings, you can pay attention, you can write emails, you can make phone calls, you can tell your neighbors and friends, and just be informed on the issues. Another thing is just advocating for your individual child, whether that means making a choice. If that school is not right for you, how to find school choice options that you can look for outside of your zone school, or just getting involved in the advocacy for your child at the traditional public school and navigating that system. Those are all things that Leadership Institute can assist with.
And so just to be clear here, people might say, oh, just attending a school board meeting. How important is that?
Well, we've seen how important it is over the last few years. I know I started going to school board meetings, over 10 years ago now. The first meeting I went to, I was shocked at the type of decisions that were being made on my behalf by people who none of which had children in school for many decades prior to that. I thought, how do these people even know what's going on in my children's school? Their children haven't been in school forever, or they don't even have children. And so that's what made me continue to go to these meetings, hear what is happening, and give my feedback in public comment about what I was seeing firsthand with my children in school. And when parents go to these meetings, they will understand exactly what I'm talking about. There are decisions being made that affect you and your child, or you as a taxpayer, every single month at these meetings, and no one is there to speak up. So just going to the meetings and being aware and speaking up when it's necessary to give that feedback is just the first step. Then it goes beyond that, serving on committees, advocating in the community, gathering signatures and petitions when things are that critical to do that. It's all a matter of being involved, being aware, and knowing what those steps are, and Leadership Institute, of course, helping with that.
I love it. So the other thing that our listening audience might not know is Erika is the wife of one of our other frequent guests, Congressman Byron Donalds, who we think is he's such a great addition to Congress, and we're so grateful for him and his work. And so the two of you are out there in different arenas, but the same concept prevails. It's freedom, it's action on the part of parents and constituents, citizens, and it's being a part of the process. And there's a lot of talk that goes on, but you're actually doing something about the places where you see a need. You have Optima Academy Online. I never want you to come here without telling everyone what that is, because it is so important that people understand. They have an option that you're providing. It's optimaacademy.online. Tell everyone about it.
Yes, Optima Academy Online, our goal is to make a classical liberal arts education available to every family who wants it, no matter where they live, and at best, tuition-free. It's tuition-free in Florida and many other states, and growing. So Optima Academy Online does provide a full K through 9, soon to be K to 12 in this next fall, classical education, completely delivered online, live or on demand, and our live courses are taught in virtual reality. And some people might take a step back and go, oh my goodness, a headset, that seems scary. But listen, it is so much better than Zoom school and the checkerboard of faces that students are getting with online learning. They actually will be in a classroom, or they can go to the moon, to ancient Rome. We have an amazing constitutional experience at Independence Hall. It's something that if you do not have a high quality in-person education, or you want to be more involved with your child at home and have them schooling at home with you, Optima Academy Online is a really great option.
So the virtual reality portion of it, I would say, I don't want my kid on, and my kids are young adults now, so my time has passed for controlling whether or not they have a VR headset. But when they were younger, I didn't view the VR headset as an educational tool. I saw it as something that might have almost addictive quality to it. But you're using it to draw children in to a world that's real, that they can experience in the headset. which is a complete game changer and totally different than the way I ever viewed VR headset use. It's very innovative.
Well, when we provide a headset to a child, it's only for school. We control it at the school level. And when they go in there, they go into the school. And the studies have shown that in comparison to two-dimensional schools, Zoom school, if you will, they are retaining things twice as long. They are picking up and mastering information twice as quickly. And of course, it's that much more engaging for students when they're in an environment where they can interact with the teacher, interact with other students, as well as interact with the three-dimensional objects like a beating heart, and they can label, parts of a plant in 3 dimensions. It's just so exciting for them to have this tool to learn, especially when, there is a curriculum crisis in this country. It's something that brought me into this space, creating the highest quality curriculum that all of us as parents expect to be available to our children. And unfortunately, it isn't.
But it could be. And the proliferation of your schools that you have created, the further they spread, the more access there is for other children, the more we're going to see children plugging back into school. It's a different perfect fit for different kids. So I don't pretend that the virtual learning is for every kid, but there are children who will thrive under that. And so you providing a classical education model, our kids took advantage of it, and I really think it improved their prospects for getting through college. I think it's a great upscale on education that enables children to do more than they actually would naturally think they can do. It expands their horizons. So it's so fantastic to have you back here to talk about that and so much more. It's Optima Academy Online. Erika Donalds, wonderful to have you here. Thank you for working and creating Optima Ed and doing all of the things that you've been up to over at Leadership Institute. We're grateful.
Thank you. Thanks so much for all that you do, and I appreciate you having me on.